How blockchain is transforming the law. With Srdjan Djanovic, Legal Transformers.
Hi everybody, my name is Srdjan Djanovic. Today, or now, we're going to have a more broader scope of what blockchain can do for the law, or how blockchain is transforming the law beyond just the regulatory aspect. So my colleagues after me will talk about MiCA and regulation. I'll have a slide or two about that as well, but I would like to get your take on a certain topic, and I will save that for the end. So for now, just a quick introduction, the name of the game. So what I do is legal transformation, right? And what my company, Legal Transformers, does is legal transformation. So what is legal transformation? We're basically helping these institutions, these players, to transform legal services or optimize internal legal processes through technology and innovation. And this particular instance is the presentation is about how blockchain as a technology will disrupt will change regulation, but disrupt the way legal services are being distributed, provided, and a little bit broader than that even. So we have two main aspects. One is how blockchain is changing the regulation. So I was a part of the work group that drafted the Digital Assets Act in Serbia, and one of the major tasks every policymaker has when writing a law is basically, and when that law is concerning technology, is how to balance to be tech agnostic, so technology agnostic on one side, and on the other side, how to give emphasis to specific technologies. Let me give you an example. So if, for example, you adjust specific regulation, let's say for blockchain, it's the liability of that, let's say, the weakness of that approach is when technology changes or evolves, you'll simply have to draft a new law, right? But from the other side, if you go completely technology agnostic, so it doesn't even have a sense to regulate that type of technology. So if you totally neglect the distributed element of blockchain, for example, when writing a law, that means that, it can be the same. The regulation can be the same, and it can be applicable to any technology. It's like AI, cloud, or whatever. So balancing that is super important. And the other aspect is making the law more insightful, efficient, and transparent for all stakeholders. So there's a funny story. We consulted, we did some consulting of how to be compliant with crypto regulation. That was back in 2017 and 18. So basically what you needed to execute an ICO was like 3 documents. So it was like a token agreement, terms and conditions, which you need for every software, and privacy policy. And that was before GDPR, so it was like super simple. And my colleague and myself, we had a client from Miami, so they went to the World Blockchain Forum in Dubai, and they needed like they didn't have any legal documentation, so they needed it for like tomorrow. And we managed obviously to draft this 3 documents overnight, so it was super simple, right? And fast forward to today, this is what you need basically in order to obtain a license for a crypto exchange. So in a sense, well, at least in Serbia, it's like, getting a license for a payment institution. So super complicated. And we see how regulation has impacted the market through all the necessary requirements in order for you to operate in the market. So I think there's a specific resemblance when it comes to the financial industry on one side and the legal industry on the other side. Because if you think about it, like the financial industry and the legal industry have in common the sheer number of intermediaries. So basically central authorities that validate transactions. It's very similar, financial industry is very similar to the legal industry. So you have courts, you have notaries, you have contracts, you have company register, IP rights, and so on and so forth. And when you take it back a little bit, you see that when each disruptive technology is emerging, you have pretty much the same loop how things are happening. If we go back to medieval times, so we have Merchant's Law or Lex Mercatoria, what happened is the technology provided roads. So you had different kingdoms, and roads connected these kingdoms. When they connected these kingdoms, they allowed for trading to emerge, right? And what happened, because there wasn't a central authority, each kingdom had its own laws, what happened was that the merchants self-regulated. They made their own authority and regulated how tradings were executed, right? And a similar thing happened in the 90s when, you know, the internet emerged. Before that, there were no like terms and conditions, end user licensing agreements. These are all ways to self-regulate because the regulation was lacking, right? And what's happening at the same, so we can see the trend. What's happening right now with Web3, so with blockchain, with metaverse, is we will have self-regulation before we have government regulation. So you can see the same loop happening all over again. So I have less than 4 minutes left, and I will leave these 4 minutes for maybe like a brief discussion or to ask a question. To what extent you think the law should be decentralized, and to what extent you think that technology should cut the middleman, cut the central authority, cut maybe courts, notaries. If you want to vote, would you vote on a DAO? So these are all questions that will influence our future. Does anybody have an idea? So do you think that central authorities are bad or good, or do we need them? Let me give you an example. If you install a alco test, so alcohol test, in every car, and you couldn't start a car before taking the test, would policemen that are checking your alcohol level be necessary? Yeah.
Thing is transparency. So we need decentralized control in some way, but we need to know how they do their job. So you cannot be a judge and have 3 different sentences for the same case just because you're corrupted. So, okay, there is some check. There can be some checks and balances, but they also have to be checked. And I think that this second or third layer of checks is corrupted. So if I have a lot of money, I can run over somebody and get sentence of 1 month or so. So basically checking the checkers and do that transparently. That is very important because I'm not the lawyer. I'm from the other side of the law, of the court.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I don't think that there is any checking of what lawyers are doing with the judges there.
Okay, thank you. I agree partially, but let me ask you a question. If, for example, you're a judge and you have a case where you can sentence somebody like 30 years in prison, would you allow that to be done purely based on like smart contracts or purely automated? That's what I'm saying. In practice, there are 3 main elements when you want to automate a legal process. You have to assess if it's volatile enough, if it's repetitive enough, and what's the strategic importance. So in my opinion, when like we do projects even with judiciary systems, and the court is access to justice is actually a very interesting topic. So first of all, if you have high strategic importance, it's super risky to rely only on technology. So you need to have the human factor. But on the other hand, if you want to vote, if you want to execute voting, for example, can it be done, let's say, through a DAO? Is this like tamper-proof technology? Can it guarantee that nobody's gonna do something, you know, shady or whatever? So I will encourage you to think about it because, in my opinion, and I published a paper on it, and I've been doing actually my whole career is the intersection between law and technology. is at some point the legal norm and computer code would be the same. So it's called embedded law. So basically, there won't be room to infringe on contracts. For example, smart contract is a proof of that, or it won't be room to kind of navigate your way around regulation because it will be embedded in code. So I will leave you with that thought. Thank you again for the attention, and thank you for the opportunity to present this.